Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to be doing a handover video on this Rapido 927F. So it's one of the shorter of the A-Class Rapidos here, and we're based on the Fiat Ducato chassis. Obviously it's an A-Class motorhome, so you've got the standard sort of front bodied, complete A-Class body on the motorhome itself. So under the bonnet itself, we've got a couple of things to point out. So you've got your chassis number and bits and pieces up there. This is the other one there. That's the actual plate that you need to look at there. These two here are where the vehicle's been sort of uprated when it was converted. So this is the original plate just here, but you need to make sure you look at these two here when you come to, if you ever need any proper measurements and weights and things, these two are the ones you need to look at. Over on the left hand side, we've got your engine battery, power steering fluid just here, brake fluid up top. Your engine oil goes in through this little cap just here at the top, and the engine oil dipstick is the yellow topped one just down here. Over towards the right, we've got your engine coolant reservoir, air filter, and your washer fluid reservoir down there with the little blue cap. The rest of it is all kind of just like fuses and relays and bits and pieces like that. Not much that you really need to know much about anyway. So onto the front near side, we've got your diesel filling point. So you will need the little circular key that comes with the set to open that diesel filling point up. It'll be one of these ones just here. Inside the passenger door, not much to show you inside the actual door itself. You've got some cup holders and things like that that have obviously been made up as part of the Rapido cab. So the original Fiat side of things is just the actual dash itself here. Everything else around the dash has been sort of fabricated in the factory at Rapido. So I'll show you into the cab. Once we get around all the way around the outside of the van, I'll show you through the actual cab itself. But for now, that's, there's not really much else for me to show you on this side just here. Obviously, bear in mind that because it's an A-Class, you've got this near side front door, but you don't have an offside front door. You do have a habitation door on the offside, but this is the only sort of cab door just here on the passenger side. So you have got a nice big storage locker just here. So to open this up, you literally just undo the little catches and then lift it down and it will come all the way out. Now this storage here is all of the storage underneath the near side long settee. So you'll see that when we get inside there as well, you'll see that settee, but this is all access to that storage under there. Below that, you probably noticed that you've got another locker. So this is essentially what you call a wet locker. So any wet storage, so anything you don't want to get the inside of the van wet with, can go inside this little pull-out drawer. You've got another one of those on the other side, and there are about 50 kilos can go in each one of those. All the windows are looking in really, really good shape. The windows are something quite important on the motorhomes. They are quite difficult to get a hold of, so something that I always like to look at. But yeah, can't see anything wrong with any of those windows there. Everything looking nice and straight and genuine. So the next thing we get to is the electric hookup point. So as you can see there, option of having an electric hookup cable plugged in. Now basically having a hookup cable plugged into the van means that your battery charger is springing to life and that you don't have to worry about your battery voltage. All the time that you haven't got an electric hookup plugged in, you do have to keep your eye on the battery voltage on the control panel, which I'll show you how to do when we get inside. And it also means that without one of these plugged in, it means that you don't have access to using any of your mains powered appliances, which again, I will run you through when we get inside. But essentially having the mains hookup plugged in means that you don't have to worry about your battery voltage. You can use any of your mains powered appliances, and you can use any household sockets. So your 3-pin sockets that you'll have inside the van, they'll all spring to life as soon as you plug that hookup cable in. Without the cable plugged in, you won't be able to use any of those household sockets. But as I say, I'll run you through all of that when we get inside. Now before I get to this, which is your toilet cassette locker, I'll just show you underneath here, we have got your wastewater drain off handle. So the actual draining point is that one there, we can see it dripping out from. And the handle itself is the one to the left of that. So you can see there, it's in the open position at the moment, which is facing front to back of the van. If I was to twist it 90 degrees, so it's facing bottom to top, you would then see that it stops draining out. So I'm going to leave that in the open position at the moment, just to make sure we haven't got any water in the waste tank. whilst we're on that note, I would normally then go around and show you where the freshwater drain is. Now, in this particular case, this exact model, there's 2 Rapido models that don't have a freshwater drain off point. Now, experienced motorhome users will probably be thinking, well, that's unusual, or maybe that's not true. I thought that as well, to be honest. So what I did was I went through into the paperwork, the actual Rapido original owner's handbook that's in the van still, and it does say that this particular model does not have a freshwater drain off point. So it's not really a big problem. All it means is that you actually, to drain your fresh tank out, you have to draw all of the water through the tap and then drain it out through the waste tank. And again, as I say, that's really not a big problem. It's really, really simple. You literally just open up the waste drain and then draw the water through the tap. That's all you have to do. But as I say, I will point out to you where it says that, or in the paperwork there, just so that you're aware. And I'll show you how to drain out that tank by doing what I said when we get inside. So the next locker here, your toilet cassette locker. So this is a Thetford toilet cassette. So to take the actual cassette out from here, you lift up on the little yellow tab and then pull the cassette towards you. Once you've got it to here, you'll be able to take it all the way out and take it to wherever you need to go. Okay, so to drain the actual cassette out, you would obviously take it to wherever you need to take it to. Twist this open. It'll come out quite a lot further than that. Twist it open and then take this cap off. Okay. Once you've taken that cap off, that'll then allow you to drain this out from here. You'll also notice that at the back of the cassette, you've got a little yellow button, and basically what that yellow button is a pressure release valve for the drain. So when you're tipping it out, hold down the little yellow button with your thumb, and then it will drain all the water out nice and clean, or nice and easily from here. So in this particular case, you've got a freshwater flush. So the little pipe to the left-hand side here is your freshwater flush fluid. So it means that you do have to have a little bit of water in your fresh tank in order to flush this toilet. That's the same with most motorhomes nowadays. But yeah, so again, I'll show you how to use that when we get inside. But there you go. So just close that up now, and then I'll carry on around the outside. So at the back of the van, we've got the ladder on the left-hand side here. You can just about see your TV aerial up there. That's a status TV aerial. Just do something on the phone. You've then got your 2-bike bike rack. This has got the correct parts on it as well. So you've got the 2 handles at the top, and then 2 rungs just here as well. Sorry, the camera's just playing up a little bit. So not much else to show you on the back of the van really, apart from the fact that you've got the 2 vents just here. You don't have to do anything with these vents. All they are the breather vents for the fridge. So basically, if you ever needed to get to the back of the fridge for any reason, which hopefully you shouldn't, but that's where you would get access to the back of the fridge. You've got a nice big size fridge in here as well, so hence why there's quite big, normally they're about half the size of that. But yeah, so you have really good access to that. We have got another rear light coming because this one has got a crack in it, so we've got another one coming very soon, and I'll be replacing that as soon as it gets here. And so what I'll do now is I'll carry on round onto the offside and then show you into the cab. So as you can see, we've got the electronic step. It comes out with this little switch just here. Okay, so that's working perfectly. Don't worry about the mess in here. We've just been doing the habitation check, so it's a little bit messy, but it won't be when it comes to collection, obviously. So we've got another vent just here. This is the back of the oven. Okay, so just a lot like the fridge, it just gives you a bit of access to the back of the oven. We've then got an external hot and cold water point. Now you've basically got a fitting that literally pushes straight into there, and then you can twist this valve just here to allow you to draw the water through. The point for that is just inside the wardrobe in there, and it would have been tested as part of the hab check. Make sure that you put the lid down and give it a little tap forward just to allow it to lock in place. When it comes to filling up your fresh tank, you have got a freshwater filling point just here. Okay, so it does say there, fresh water, and so that's where you fill up your fresh tank. To the right of that, you have got this locker just here, which is making an absolute racket at the moment. That's completely normal. So this is your boiler vent. Okay, so any time that the boiler is running, you will hear the fan running like that. So please God, do not put your finger in there. because I can guarantee you it will hurt very, very much. So this is your boiler vent, or your boiler cupboard, more like. So you've got this little vent up here, which is actually the bit that blows out the hot air from the boiler. So this is essentially like the exhaust, if you like. It's kind of like the hot air pumps out from here, and that's like a fail-safe way of knowing that it's definitely working. So this is how you can double check that it's definitely working. Pop your hand over like that, and now I can feel hot air coming out from there. You'll also be able to see a little bit of condensation coming out from here. That's completely normal. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. It just means that it's a cold day and we've got some heat coming out from here. But the only real important thing that I need to show you inside this locker is this little thing down here, this little red tab. Okay, so this little red tab is your boiler drain off point, and essentially what it does is it drains all the water out from inside the boiler, about 10 litres, and stops it from freezing up when it comes to winter. So this is an auto drain off point, okay? So it will do it automatically for you if you forget to do it. But the sort of thing to take away from this is that when it gets really, really cold and you want to drain the boiler out, all you have to do is push this little button down. Once you've pushed it down, you'll notice that all the water will come pumping out down here, just underneath it, and then that's your boiler drained out. When you want to fill it back up again, lift this tab upright until it stops like it is now, and then allow the water to come through the tap on the hot side of the tap until it starts coming through nice and clearly through the tap. I'll explain that in a bit more detail when we get inside, but that is your boiler drain. So as I mentioned, on the other side we've got this other slide out locker here. So this is another sort of wet locker, if you like. So it's another 50 kilo wet locker. So that's going to be for sort of like, I don't know, camping chairs, tents, stuff like that. Stuff that you don't want to get the inside of the van dirty with or wet. So that's that there. And then the last locker I need to show you is your gas locker. Now you've got a nice big gas locker on here. You've also got, just in case you never realise, these little hooks inside here. If I just undo these two, the little hooks come down, and then it basically allows you to put the bottles in and out nice and easily rather than having to lift it over that little lip. Okay, just in case you didn't realise that was there. The gas bottle itself. So, to be honest, all you need to know about it is that you go anti-clockwise around to the left to turn it on, and clockwise all the way down round to the right to turn it off. You've got a nice new pigtail here. It's a 2024 pigtail, so you've got till 29 to replace this. And then all the rest of the stuff on the regulator up here is all for our testing purposes, and so you haven't got to do anything with that whatsoever. It's really quite straightforward, to be honest. You don't have to do anything else with it. Turn the bottle off before you start driving. That's really important. But yeah, when you're using the gas as well, if you've got something using the gas inside the van, you will hear a sort of slight hissing noise from inside here. It's just the gas pumping through this pipe. So if you listen now, probably just about hear it on the video, but you can just about hear the little hissing noise. It's totally normal. When I turn the appliances off inside, that will stop basically. So what I'll do then is I'll jump into the cab and then show you sort of what we got going on in there, and then I will turn around, come into the back end of the van here and walk you through the rest of it. Just turn that heating off for a minute. So in the cab itself, you've got a really nice high spec. So because this is a nice sort of like high quality A-class motorhome, first things first is that you've got this little sort of thing down here. So this area down here, so this button on the left hand side is to do with your step. So if your step was out and you were going to start the engine up, you can bring it in with that little button there. You've then got these two dials over here. So this is essentially a rear heater, if you like, and essentially what it will do is it works when you're driving. Okay, so if you had any rear passengers, it essentially warms the inside of the van up a little bit whilst you're driving via the engine. Okay, that's the long and short of it. That's what it does, and that's something you only generally get with sort of high-end A-class vans. Now, because you haven't got the original factory-fitted Fiat mirrors, you've got these sort of A-class alternatives. You have got this little thing down here as well, which is an electronic mirror adjustment thing there, so you can choose which mirror you want to move and then adjust it just like that. All right, so that's how you would do those. You've also got the full cab blinds. So to actually use these blinds, all you have to do is unhook the little clip there and then pull it all the way across until it meets up here. There is a clever way of doing it. Pops on like that. And then you've got your full cab blinds there. Now you have got one for the front windscreen as well. They meet up together in the middle to sort of lock together. If I just undo that now, just by pulling it off. Make sure that you get it all nice and neat. Probably needs 2 hands really, unless, oh, there you go, just about got it. All right, and then just make sure that you pop the little clip over like so that it doesn't fly out on you when you're driving. But that is the cab blinds. So you've got really nice, proper, good quality cab blinds there. You've got reversing camera from this little screen just here. All right, so you can turn that on and off as and when you want to, really. You've got the, what I believe to be the original factory fitted radio here. They always used to use these Blaupunkt radios, so that's quite a standard thing. You've got the lights on the left-hand stalk just here, and obviously your indicators. Below that is an aftermarket cruise control stalk. Okay, so these ones are aftermarket, but it's because I actually don't think they came out with a... I think it was only the left-hand drive ones that had the option of the stand, like the Fiat factory fitted cruise controls. So a lot of these right-hand drive ones do have the aftermarket ones. So have a little go with that if you like. So you've got pretty much all of the extras on here. So you've got the, I mean, this button over here won't do anything at all because that's the original heated rear window, but obviously it's been taken out and converted into a motorhome now, so that doesn't do anything. You've got the front and rear fog lamps. So normally you'd only have the rear, but this one's got the front. Hazard lights, and you've also got the ASR button here. So this is all to do with your traction control. So if it's a bit of a snowy day or a bit icy or whatever, you can turn that on, and it's like an additional stability or something like that. So that is that there. Below that, we've got your heater controls. So we've got the fan speed, temperature, and where you want the air to blow to. Below that, you've got your air conditioning switch, which is another thing that's absolutely not standard on these sort of this year of cab. So that's a really nice little extra to have. And then to the left of that, we have got your sort of, this is like where you would choose between recirculate or draw in from outside. So that's up to you how you want to do that. Okay. So you've got a little cigarette lighter down there, at a 12-volt point, and another 12-volt point just down there. Cup holder in the corner, as I showed you. Cup holder just here, and a bit more storage over here. You have got this little opening cupboard area at the front as well. I think that's about it, really. There's not really much else I can show you, apart from the fact that you've got the bonnet lifting handle just down here above the clutch pedal, and the steering column adjustments there to the right. So both of these front seats do swivel round. So you lift the little handle up just here, and then the seat will swivel round. It's a bit awkward to do with one hand, but I promise you they do swivel all the way around. You've got the overcab bed up here, so you have got the little seat belt thing you need to undo before you can pull that down, but it will literally just come down with a little pull of one hand. Super easy and light to use. Just push it back up to a general position and then pop the little seat belt back in. Now the seat belt isn't really the thing that actually holds it up. It's not really designed to take the whole weight of it, but what it'll do is it'll stop it from being able to move past a certain point, basically. So yeah. So the actual layout of the van is quite a popular one, really. So you've got, I mean, this is quite an unusual layout where you've got the kind of long settee here. So this is a 6-foot settee, so you can actually use this as a single bed if you want to. It will also pull out towards you a little bit and make out into a nice big bed. But so you can have that in whatever configuration you want. This area here will also turn into a bed, so you can use the table, which will fold out to another bit there. You can use the table to lay it in there and all that sort of stuff, but that's just kind of, you know, however you want to use it, you can use it like that. You've got 2 proper 3-point seat belts here as well, so forward facing 3-point belts. Now Bit of a funny grey area when it comes to motorhomes and their seatbelt arrangements, especially after certain years. But this one is the proper, proper over-the-shoulder chassis mounted seatbelts. So proper units there, factory fitted, so it's not been done aftermarket. So you can see the general layout there. So this locker up here is going to be where you would pop a telly. If you had a TV to go on something, you would pop it on here, and you can slide it out to wherever you want it to go to, and then it'll twist around there as well. Okay, so these units are pretty handy. Again, that's a factory fitted thing. In the back of the cupboard there, you've got a 3-point socket, which is the one that I was saying. So these 3-point sockets at the top, this will not work at all unless you've got the electric hookup plugged in. The 12-volt socket there works via your leisure battery, so that will work all the time that your control panel's on. And then you've got your aerial sockets down there as well. Now the one you need to use, just so that you know, the one that says TV on it is the one that you need to use, because that's the type of aerial that you've got. You haven't got a satellite dish on the roof, so you don't use the satellite one. All right, so that is that. Bathroom in here. Okay, so nice and simple on the bathroom. You've literally got hot and cold tap just there for the sink. To actually use that, just so that you know, you literally just lift it up. Cold comes first, and then the further you lift it around, the hotter the water will get. Pull it all the way back to close it off. All right, so this is a good example. We'll just point out that, I mean, some people do come to collect their motorhomes and then say, oh, well, that's draining out really slowly, there must be something wrong with it. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with it because the water drains out a little bit slowly. That's completely normal, to be honest. It doesn't work in exactly the same way as a household one does, in the sense that when you drain water down a drain in a house, it goes like directly down, whereas in the motorhomes they have to go down and then across and then down and then all sorts of places. So you can't really don't expect it to drain out really quickly like you would at home. It will take a little bit longer, but obviously you can put things down the drains to sort of clear them out a little bit, not anything harsh like you would at home, different plastics and stuff like that. But you can make them a little bit better, but normally that's about as fast as they'll go. Just putting that out there just so that you know, really. So sorry, the rest of the bathroom got sidetracked there. So you've got the toilet just down here. So to actually drain essentially to use the toilet, you've got a little blue button up here. When I press the blue button, you'll see the flush fluid pumps around, which, as I said, is just water. So then you would essentially use the toilet after you put a little bit of fluid around, flush again, and then drain into the cassette. So to drain it into the cassette, you pull this handle towards you. Everything drains away into the cassette itself, and then you push the handle back. If you don't push that handle back, basically what will happen is that cassette will be locked in position and you won't be able to take it out from outside. So make sure that you push that back again, and then you'll be ready to use it again. We are just currently waiting for a little catch for the shower door in here. The old one was not brilliant, so we're just waiting for a new one of those. But essentially you've just got a hot and cold tap just there for the actual shower unit itself, and the shower head up there. Not much to it at all, so not much I need to explain. So what I will do, I'll just sort of show you the layout and general bits and pieces. What I'll do is I'll start off up here at the control panel. So this is essentially like the brain of the vehicle, if you like. This is where everything gets turned on from. You can check all of your levels and blah 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 blah. So essentially what you've got, the most important side I suppose, is this side on the right hand side. So you've got the main power switch at the top, and then everything else around it is all kind of like individual things, if you like. So what we're doing by turning these on over here, whichever one you turn on, is all the 12-volt appliances. Okay, so all of your lights in here are 12-volt fed, your pump's 12-volt fed, everything inside the van itself, apart from the 3-point sockets, is pretty much 12-volt powered. So that's your leisure battery. Okay, so turn the power on. I normally turn on aux 1 and aux 2 as well, because that will be including any sort of aftermarket fittings, and just basically saves you from thinking something's not working. So sometimes some particular companies will use the aux 1 and aux 2 for different things. Sometimes the aux 1 and aux 2 are used for ignitions, for the cookers and stuff like that. So I generally will just come in and use aux 1 and aux 2, just turn them both on. You've then got your lights. Okay, so that's basically just a main lights on and off isolator. You've got your water pump just here. So the water pump goes on and off like that. Now this is a inline water pump system, which means that essentially the water pump works on pressure. So if, for example, right now I had no water in the fresh tank and I turned the water pump on, essentially what would happen is the water pump would turn on and it would never ever turn off, because it needs to get itself up to pressure in order to turn itself off. Okay, so at the moment I've got the water pump switch turned on, but the pump isn't running, and that's because the system is up to pressure. Now I'll show you how to get to that pressure in a minute once I've carried on and finished the control panel. It's very simple, but yeah, I'll show you how to do that in a minute. The last one is this little fan symbol up here. Now this is normally to do with your extractor fan. So if I just have a little look, so you've got lights on the bottom of the extractor, sorry, so you can actually see that. And the actual extractor itself. Now that's little fan symbol there will be an isolator for that unit under there. Okay, so that's your main switches on the right hand side. Now the actual screen itself and these buttons on the left are very, very straightforward. There's not really anything to it. So you've got the clock up here, so you can change your time on that, press and hold on that, and then you can use these two to change the time. You've then got your battery level indicators. So when I press on this button here, it brings us up with a little caravan symbol and a battery. So that's telling us that the leisure battery, oh, sorry, I pressed it too many times. The leisure battery's got 12.7 volts in it, which is a very, very good resting rate. It's using 1 amp at the moment. The engine battery is at 12.6 volts, and that's it. So generally speaking, when it comes to any sort of like 12 volt battery, anything over about 10 volts is okay. When you start getting down towards 10 volts, then you're going to be thinking about wanting to put the hookup in or charging it somehow, whether that's the hookup or starting the engine for a while using the split relay. So yeah, essentially anything that, I mean, to be honest, when you get lower than 11 volts, that's when you sort of start thinking about charging it. But anywhere there at like 12.7, that is absolutely perfect. When you plug the hookup cable in, you can expect that the leisure battery will go up to nearly 14 or above. That's totally normal. So yeah, that's the control panel. There's nothing more to it. It's really, really straightforward. And essentially once you've turned this power on over here and you've got whatever switches on that you want on, you will then be able to go through and use those specific things. Now, without trying to chew your ear off too much about it, the freshwater system, as I said, it's an inline pump which works on pressure. So to make sure that your pump is up to pressure, which also means that your boiler's full of water, there's just one little process that you need to do. Now, essentially all it is you press this button down here and you'll see that you've got an absolutely full to the brim fresh tank. So this is our fresh water level. Once I've checked that and I've turned the water pump on, all we need to do from there is come over to the tap, the kitchen tap ideally, and draw the water through on the tap. So I'm going to do the right, which is the cold first. So the pump's just kicked in because it's just lost a little bit of pressure due to me drawing the water through, and it's just pumping through nice and clearly. It's not coughing and spluttering at me, it's not going everywhere and making me soaking wet. So that's perfect. I'm going to now turn it over to the hot side, sorry. Make sure it's still coming through nice and clear. There you go. So that right now we are absolutely 100% at pressure. There's no leaks, there's nothing nasty going on. And when I turn the tap off, the pump will run on for a few seconds, get itself to pressure, and then switch off. So if we listen. There you go. So that is literally the perfect hot and cold water system on a motorhome. That's exactly what you want to hear on every single motorhome. That's not always the case, because unfortunately these things aren't made of metal and brass. They, copper, they can't be, because they move around a lot. So every once in a while, if you were to get a leak from something, essentially what would happen is you would try and draw the water through. It would come through, but when you turn the tap off, you'll find that the pump won't turn itself off properly. It will kind of kick in and out, in, out, in, out. And it's essentially just trying to get itself back up to pressure. But because there's a leak somewhere, it can't get to its pressure, so it's just cutting in and out. So the fact that the pump's turned itself off on its own like that, and it's still off, it's not making any noises, it's a good water system. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. So the last thing to run you through is just going to be sort of explaining a couple of things on the appliances. So these up here, I very rarely run through these. This is literally just a 3-burner hob. You've got an ignition over on the left-hand side, okay, and a valve. So you literally just choose which one you want to light up whilst pressing on the ignition. And that's it. That is all you have to do. So yeah, I very rarely run through those. So that's your 3-burner hob. Very similar idea down here with the oven and grill. Only difference is that you've got this front door on it, really. So you've got a little travel catch here. Push the travel catch up and then pull the door towards you. From there, you haven't even got to press the ignition button on here. It's so easy. You push in and around to the right for the grill. Now, if you find that it does that and it's not quite lighting up fully, just blow in there for a sec. And make sure, the only thing that I tend to explain on here, with the grill, as you can see, when I tried to light it up just then, because it's quite cold, it only lit up about, like a third of the way up. The problem with that is obviously the gas will be trying to pump its way through. And also the thermocouple, which allows it to stay lit, is on the other side. So essentially you can see this row here. There's another row on the other side. So unless you get both sides lit up, it will never stay on. So you need to make sure that you can see this little bit just here, which kind of wraps around to the other side. If that little bit there isn't lit up, then the other side isn't lit. So make sure that you just give it a little blow in there, and that will just basically allow it to just fully light up. But that's simple stuff, really. That's something you have to do on most motorhomes. So I'll turn that off just by going back to the middle. And then you basically go in and round to the left to light the oven up. Okay, that is super, super easy. You got gas marks on there, obviously. But yeah, back to the middle, turns that off as well. And that's it. That is your oven and grill and your 3-burner hob. Super easy, all working absolutely as you would expect it to. Nice little cover there for that. Decent amount of worktop space in this one as well, actually. So next thing is going to be the hot and cold water and your heating, which is all from this one unit. So you've got a Trumatic boiler. So this is a Truma combi boiler is what you'd call it. So you've got the Truma CEH, which means that you've got the option of using it on gas or electric. Okay, so essentially you've got 2 dials here. Now sometimes people can get a little bit confused with these if they've not been explained or if it's not been explained to them in the correct way. So these are super simple. When you actually sort of understand the simple way of using them, they are so easy. So try not to overcomplicate it. You've essentially got the dial at the bottom, which is your energy selector. This one here doesn't do anything to the boiler apart from tell it what energy to use. So essentially that one there at the bottom just tells it whether to use gas, electric, or both at the same time. That's all it does. So at the moment we've got selected the gas symbol. So that's going to be using gas on its own. So no electric, just gas. And the reason that I've got it on that one is because I've got the gas on in the locker, but I don't have the electric hookup plugged in on the side of the van. So that's the only option that I can use. If, for example, it's the other way around, I've run out of gas, but I do have the electric hookup plugged in, I can go up 1 or up 2, and essentially what it is either 4 or 8 amps of electric. Okay, so that's your electric hookup. So that's how you would use the boiler on electric only. If you're in a major hurry for the heating or the hot water or whatever it is you're telling the boiler to do up there, then you can use both at the same time. If you've got the gas on and the electric hookup plugged in, you can go down 1 or down 2, and that would be using gas and either 4 or 8 amps of electric. So that one there, as I say, is literally just telling the boiler which energy you want it to use. For the time being, I've only got the gas, so I'm going to have to use it in the middle on gas. Okay, so the one above it is sort of the more important one, I suppose, and that's the one that actually tells the boiler what to do. So as I said, you've got the option on here of this is the same unit, does your heating and your hot water. So where it is in the moment, in the middle, is basically your off position. So at the moment, whatever you've got the boiler telling it, what energy to use down here, doesn't matter. As long as you've got it here in the middle on the little circle, it means that the boiler is off. If I go up 1 or up 2, essentially that is hot water only. And it's either at 40 or 60 degrees of hot water. Okay, so currently we've got the boiler set to 60 degrees hot water, and we've got it working on gas. Go back to the middle, turns the boiler off. If I go down once, we've got heating only. Okay, so 1 down at the top one is heating only, and essentially after about 5 minutes you'll get hot air pumping out through those little circular vents. So there will be some circle vents all the way around the vehicle. They'll be scattered around everywhere. So yeah, that's where your heating will come from. And then if we go all the way down on the top dial here, we've got heating and hot water at the same time. Okay, so at the moment it's quite a cold day. Let's just say I was, out in the van camping or whatever, thought, I want some hot water to do some washing up or have a shower or whatever. But I also wanted the heating to be on. I would then have selected the bottom one here, which I have done, for heating and hot water. And as I said, I've only got the gas. I don't have the hookup plugged in, so I have to use it on the gas. And that's it. That really is it. That's all you have to do with that. It's no more difficult than that. Right. In the wardrobe just here, which is this massive, great big door here, so it's one of the biggest wardrobes you will ever see, we've got all the factory fitted carpets in here. We just hoover them, roll them up and put them away so that you can see the whole floor is in really good condition. And if you want to lay the carpets back down again to make it a bit more homely or whatever, you can do. Some people don't. If they've got dogs and things like that, it just means it's so much easier to clean the floor in here, but it's up to you. This up here is the external water point hose that I was saying about. So that's what you need to plug into the external water point there to use that. You've got an infill cushion just here. And this is all of your paperwork for the van. So this is where I said that sort of big user manual was inside there, telling you all about the fresh water system and all that sort of stuff. That's all in there. So if you ever wanted to have a good look through that, good read through that, it might be a bit boring, I don't know. But if you want to look through that, you can do. And obviously we're here at the end of the phone anytime for anything anyway. But yeah, there you go. So up here, probably the last thing I need to show you, or one of the last things, sorry, is your TV aerial. So the TV aerial itself is this long pole. So you undo this little nut up here and then you can push it up and around and sort of find your correct signal. TV aerial booster is this one just here. So you really need to have that turned on in order to use it, which will basically be the little switch just down here. Turns it on and off. And there you go. So the last thing to show you is going to be the fridge. So this is what you'd call a stack style fridge, if you like. There's lots of different ways of calling it, but this is basically the biggest fridge that they made at this time. So you've got a separate freezer up at the top and your main fridge area down the bottom. You have got these little travel locks on here, so push it to the left on the top one to lock it and to the right to unlock, opposite way round on the bottom. So this is, as you can see here, this is an AES fridge, okay? Stands for Automatic Energy Selection. And essentially, you can probably work out by the name of that, but it means that you have got the option on here where it says auto. You have got the option there of selecting automatic, and it will choose one of the 3 options for you. Now at the moment, just like the boiler, I've only got the gas on. I don't have the mains plugged in, and in this case I also don't have the engine running, which is what the 12-volt one is there. So you've got gas, mains hookup, engine running, automatic. Okay, so that's probably the easier way to remember that. At the moment I've got the gas on, so all I need to do, just switch it off for the moment, all I need to do to light it up on the gas is twist this once to the right. Okay, the fridge does all the rest of the work for you. It lights the flame up, does all of that stuff for you, and as long as you get a nice solid amber light in there, it means that the fridge is on and working. You've got a gauge over here to see how cold you want the fridge to be, and you'll notice if you've had the fridge on for a little while, when I turn this all the way down, if you watch what happens, you see the little amber light will kind of flicker on and off. Okay, so the reason it's doing that when I turn it right the way down is because it's already recognized that the fridge is quite cold. So when I've turned that all the way down there, it's essentially going to turn itself on and off to retain the temperature that you've chosen. So when you first want it to get cold, I would recommend just popping it on max, and then it will just kind of get there eventually. You can then adjust it. Once it has got to that peak cold temperature inside, you can adjust it accordingly. But there you go. The other options here, so the 230 volt, the electric hookup there, the gas and the electric hookup are the only 2 ways that the fridge will actually get cold from warm. So the 12 volt option here, the only reason you would ever really use that is if your engine's running and you're driving and you've already pre-cooled the fridge before you leave. So that's essentially the idea behind it. You need to make sure that the fridge is pre-cooled before you head off. The reason for that is, the long and short of it, is that you've got 12 volt. It's not really powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself. It is plenty powerful enough to keep the fridge cold whilst you drive, but it's not powerful enough to get it cold by itself. So if you're going on holiday tomorrow morning, I might recommend that you come out and light it up on gas or electric hookup the night before you go, and then at least you'll know for a fact that when you get to it the next morning, it'll be ready to go, nice and cold, and then all you have to do is switch over to 12 volt before you leave. Now, for obvious reasons, you have got the auto function on there. You can select that one if you want to, and it should just do all of this for you. But I have found over the years that the auto function can be a little bit unpredictable and unreliable, actually. So sometimes you'll put it on auto and it will say, for example, it might have selected 12 volt right now, but the engine's not running, so it's not actually working, but the auto function thinks that it is, if that makes sense. So sometimes you find that even if you select auto, it's not the correct option that it's chosen. So I tend to sort of explain these in good detail so that you can see and sort of do it yourself anyway. The last thing on the fridge is this button over here. Now this is essentially, whether it's actually got it or not, I don't know, but this is essentially a little fan in the back of the fridge. Sometimes they have them, sometimes they don't, but they all have this little button. So in the summer, when it's like seriously hot, if you're in Spain or something like that more so, you might find that the gas will struggle to light up and it will struggle to actually get the fridge cold. If you find that that's the case, pop that little switch there on and it should help with a little bit of circulation in the back. But that's it. So, switch that off for now. The very last thing I'm going to show you is just down here below the oven. And it is your gas isolation points. So, if I just explain to you what each one of the little symbols means. So the one on the left hand side there is your 3-burner hob. You've then got the boiler, fridge, and oven. So, if you want to isolate the gas from any one of those appliances, you just select which one it is you want to isolate. And then all you need to do, let's just say you want to isolate the gas to the fridge, twist it 90 degrees so it's facing away from the pipe, and then that's it, isolated. Now, I will just explain as well. The only reason you would ever need to do that is if you thought there was a problem with a specific appliance. If you come into the van one day and you think you can smell gas coming from in here when there shouldn't be, then come in here and isolate it. okay? But that's the only reason you would ever do that. You do not need to isolate these every time you get out of the van, which I have seen plenty of times. Turning the gas bottle off in the locker is isolating before this, okay? So turning the bottle off in the locker is all you have to do when you're getting out of the van. These are for isolating individual appliances as and when. So there you go. I think I have covered everything. Sorry it's been a bit of a long video, but it's, you know, quite a lot of things to show you in here. So hopefully I've covered everything. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.